themselves through this anonymous profile. And then the trusted people, I may actually show up. You know, one of the most powerful people at Microsoft is Bill Gates' speechwriter. If Bill is in a meeting or they walk into you know, the Las Vegas Convention Center, Bill would probably like to know that his speechwriter is there, and they're going to show up on each other's device. That, you know, they have a trusted relationship, and they're going to show up. Other people, as I just said, are not, right? So you may ping, and you may ignore a bunch of the stuff that comes at you. So this is the kind of environment we think is eventually going to move into the consumer world, but it's also going to very much impact what we do at the enterprise level. Finally, the economics of accidents. We've had several conversations with companies recently, both vendors and end users, who've asked us, build me a business case for knowledge management, build me a business case for collaboration. Most of the time the answer is you can't do it. There's no way to build a business case for horizontal, cross-functional collaboration, because I don't have anything that I'm trying to solve in particular. Same thing with search engines, right? Build me a business case for search engines. You could argue that why should we do that, because we didn't build a business case for the phone system and or for email, right? We also didn't build a business case for hiring employees, we just assumed we had to do that. But when we do something new, we say we want to build a business case, and right now it's collaboration, and to a lesser degree, it was more a couple of years ago, knowledge management. And we've decided that you really can't do that, because what happens is you can't figure out what's going to happen in the future in terms of this. One of the people I was working with on that said, and you probably have a few science fiction fans in the audience, you need a mule to do that, right? So this is Isaac Asimov in the Foundation series. The mule could forecast the future through great mathematical acumen, right? We don't have that. So you have to take some of this based on faith almost. It's almost like a religious experience. I believe that if I some good is going to come out of that. And that's really how most intranets were put in, because we didn't have a value proposition for the intranet as a whole. Now, if we were talking about project management and we decided that we had all these distributed projects where everybody had their individual files, and wouldn't it be great, and couldn't we have efficiencies if we did projects better, and we can probably model that, we can build a business case for doing project management on an intranet. We can build a business case for putting intelligent content services into a call center. I can't build a business case for putting intelligent content services through the whole enterprise. So one of the ways that we started thinking about this was atoms running around in a vessel at sea level don't run into each other very often. It's kind of a steady state in here. But when you compress the stuff, they run into each other more often. And intelligent content services really compresses the environment that you're dealing with, right? The enterprise, and presents you with more opportunities than you would have to interact with people. And not only does it compress them, but it takes people with like profiles and throws them at each other almost, right? Here are opportunities for collaboration. I'm going to have more interactions, and they're going to be higher valued interactions. So this is a value proposition. Now, what I cannot do is figure out who's going to collaborate with whom, what they're going to collaborate about, or the magnitude of the interaction. So I still can't build a business case. Right? But I have a way of thinking about the problem that may convince me that there is value there. It's very difficult to do that. Yes?
Would there be a painless way after the fact to measure the impact?
Well, the analogy that I make in the piece that called the economics of accidents is neutrino astronomy. Mm-hmm. Okay, so neutrino astronomy has these great big vats of water looking for neutrinos to hit them, and they've got sensors around. Yes, we can build metrics looking for the positive stuff, right? We can look at a situation and say, what's important to the business is that we improve customer satisfaction. If I put this in, and I've got ways of measuring customer satisfaction, I can probably make some corollaries, because I'm also collecting anecdotal evidence. And one of the other things that led to this, all the justifications that we see in the collaboration platforms are all historical. It's almost all anecdotal. When we get down to, as I said earlier, very specific business cases, I can build those, right? The scenario that I gave about call centers using pattern recognition to identify people who can help me solve a problem, I can build a business case with that with my eyes closed, right? And that's why almost all of these companies now are packaging up their technology and having a call center solution. right? They're partnering with Siebel, they're partnering with Onyx, they're partnering with all these places, and putting in solutions for call centers. Now they're scared because they don't want to become call center companies. They want to become this vision. They want to be horizontal platform players. But they can build a business case because we make them do that, right? So one of the other jobs that I get to do is talk to executives and say, gee, be a little easier on these software companies. You've made all this investment in collaboration technology. You've connected people with email, real-time collaboration, e-learning, instant messaging, et cetera, and you haven't connected them with who they should talk to. They're talking to the same people they talked to before. They're just using a bunch of different channels to do that with. You have not expanded the scope of who they're collaborating with. That's what Intelligent Content Services does. It gives you that ability to bring that scope in, say who in the enterprise, be they in Brussels and I'm in California and the other person that I identify is in Singapore. We can see each other, we can make the choice. Now, this is the old leading the horse to water, they don't have to drink thing, right? There's still a human choice of, am I going to jump into this collaboration and take advantage of the opportunity? But I can't, right? I see that opportunity, and we have seen, you know, millions of dollars in savings and millions of dollars in opportunities. So Siemens has a great story about, you know, a team in one part of the world is trying to make a contract. They said, oh my God, we don't know how to make this bid. It's, you know, we're one of two companies that's involved in this. We don't know, we're probably going to have to no-bid this because our company can't do this. They use their internally developed system for collaboration and content discovery and found somebody in Norway that had done a very similar thing and said, oh look, we do have this capability. And not only did they leverage the content, the proposal, but they also leveraged the expertise of the team. Never, without the intranet and without the appropriate tools for trying to identify that content, would they have ever found each other. It was just physically not possible. Yes?
Have you done much research in the area of communities of practice?
Yes.
Because what you're describing is that. And if I could just
Yep.
use this as a metaphor, this is basically an enterprise, small business, executives, however you want to look at it, people with open minds and optimistic about these collaborations or these communities of practice and what they will yield if they just come together and open up.
Well, a community of practice, though, is much more formal than this. Right? So I'm usually not an advocate, although you would not know it from tonight's presentation, I'm not usually an advocate of technology being the solution to anything. Right? So I can have a community of practice without technology. Right? I've got another slide deck that talks about how to make communities of practice work. One of the slides in there is about a pharmaceutical company who was trying to figure out why chemists on drug development were having problems moving from project to project. And what they found out was they were putting blinders on, doing just the research that was going to help that drug development, and forgetting about everything else that happened in the world. They created a community of practice. Now, community of practice can be kind of mandated. We have a community of chemists. We think you guys should talk more so that you have better skills. And you should be, right, it's cultural. What's different between this and community of practice, the community of practice is usually voluntary, doesn't necessarily have technology, may have some kind of forum, something, and it also has some kind of formal charter within the organization if it's a real community of practice. It has some mandate of these are the kinds of things that you have to develop. You may have training budgets associated with you. You may have content ownership associated with the community, because that's one of the questions we go to communities of practice all the time. Well, who owns this content? Well, it can't be Joe, because Joe might change jobs and get promoted or leave the company. It's much safer to have a community own some kind of process, procedure, or something else than an individual. What's different here is the technology is doing this kind of on the fly in an ad hoc way. A community of practice, I can say, I've got production engineers, I've got design engineers, Java programmers, I can create a community, here's a space, here's a budget, you guys go make yourselves better, and we'll help facilitate and train and all that kind of stuff, and we'll make you a good community. This is, I didn't know to ask the question before, right? I'm now presented with something where I didn't know I couldn't create a community because I didn't know I was going to have this problem. Or it's something where I don't really have a skill base. It's not a skill-based question, right, necessarily. It may be, you know, not in a traditional sense of I've identified these skills and I put them into a skill matrix and decided this was a core competency of my organization. So again, I may not find them or have a community fostered for that. But through collateral discovery of what people talk about and what they publish, when I say this is what I'm looking for, the system may identify people who accidentally had that skill, right? I go out of my way to not tell people that I implemented MRP systems for 10 years. I don't want to do that anymore. But if you read my resume and you do pattern recognition and you say, I got a production inventory control problem and do we have a master scheduler? I was a master scheduler once. And I could probably help work through, you know, the American Production Inventory Control Society stuff with somebody and teach them how to be a master scheduler. Not on my skill profile, just collateral stuff. My publications show that, my resume shows that. So this can be used also, and this has been used by IBM Global Services, I know for a fact. They've used tacit knowledge systems to go out and not implement it as a way of connecting people in this way, which is what it was designed to do. They use it as a systems analysis tool. They run all the content, they look at the global capabilities of the company, they roll it up, and they say, what does the company know? And then they have the strategy guys going, what does the company need to know? Gee, look, there's a gap between what we know and what we need to know. And then they do a report with, you know, that you could probably do on a recipe card that says, you guys need to know this stuff. You need to spend some money learning this because you know this, or you need to know this, and here's the stuff you don't know. So, yeah, I mean, you can use it as an analysis tool as well. But, you know, it's really intended to be much more ad hoc. And I think with that, that's the last slide. And I've talked your ears off, and I appreciate your patience and the invitation. Hopefully it was somewhat useful, somewhat controversial, still to evolve. It does have rough edges on it. You know, I think from the vision side, you can recognize capabilities that would be something that would be useful to you. You know, my encouragement to you is if you do see that you know, you work with your influencing within the industry and within your company to look at this as a problem that people start spending some money on, because if we keep doing what we're doing now, we're just going to have, you know, Moore's Law is wonderful, and we're going to have better, faster, and cheaper computers all doing the same boring thing they're doing now. And I think they're quite a bit more capable than we're giving them the opportunity to be for us. So, thank you very much.
Better than that, we'd like to recognize the effort people put forth coming to us to award you this little thanks for
Thank you very
spending
much.
your time with us. We appreciate it very much. Thank you. I think it was really well received. There was a lot of interest evidenced by the questions, and I'm sure there'll be even more when they go back and review the slides later on. I'd like to open it right now to anyone who has any announcements they want to make. Did you want to make an announcement?
Yeah, I'm Eric Mott. I used to be a Sun strategist, and I launched a startup back in December, and we announced a product called CreatorBase on July 1st. We partnered with Sun, Introspect Software, which is a collaboration knowledge management company, NTT Vario, VeriSign, PayPal. So we're delivering collaboration services to Soho, small business, researchers, students. So basically the little guy. All this stuff we saw, and by the way, there's a postcard here. I put some on the table as well. The stuff that we saw is primarily targeted at large enterprise. What I've done is ASP some of this more expensive stuff down to the small person. So feel free to take a look at our postcard. I can give you my